Comedian, disruptor extraordinaire Liz Winstead, co-creator of The Daily Show, and her team of activists crisscross the U.S. to support abortion clinic staff and bust stigma. Pop culture icons and next-gen comics fuel this 6-year road film, activating small-town folks to rebuild vandalized clinics, expose wrongdoer politicians, domestic terrorists, and media neglect as the race to the bottom ensues. A bold call to action reminds us that when the patriarchy burns down, joy will prevail. The documentary feature, No One Asked You, received honorable mention at the 2024 Oxford Film Festival. Here now from some of the filmmakers, Ruth, Leitman, and Andrea Raby.
I'm Ruth Leitman. I'm the writer, director, executive producer of No One Asked You.
And I'm Andrea Raby. I'm a producer on No One Asked You.
Thank you guys for joining me. I'd love to talk about this film because I'm from Jackson. This is Jackson Film Club, the podcast, and Jackson is featured pretty heavily in this film. So I just made a note that it was wild to see Jackson. I recognized the Pink House, and then it looked like y'all had an event at Dueling Hall. And I'd love to just hear y'all talk about your experiences in Jackson and what the people were like, on both sides.
So first, it was really important for us to, you didn't ask me this, but really important. So first of all, it's really important that we're showing the film here in Mississippi, in Oxford, at the Oxford Film Fest. We're really excited about that because the Pink House and the Pink House Defenders are very well documented in this film, which we shot over 7 years. And we returned, returned often to follow their story. And everyone knew that, or at least in the group of repro rights activists that we were a part of, that things were going to get a lot worse, and we knew that things, that there would be some state that would be the state that would be the state that overturned Roe, and in this case, the winner was Jackson Women's Health Organization. We were all the losers in that when Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization ostensibly overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022.
And we really, and we filmed, well, we were first, and when I say we, I mean Ruth. I was not part of early production. I came on later in the post-process, but started filming with Abortion Access Front that the film is mainly centered on, and through that initial tour that they go on in the film, met Dorinda and Kim and the Pink House Defenders at Jackson Women's Health Organization, and then I think it just became apparent that they were doing something really special and really important, and that needed to be documented. This work that they were doing constantly to defend the clinic that was always under attack, and volunteer.
Literal siege.
Yeah.
It's like Dorinda says in the film, I'm in a war. She was in a war every day, and she put her day job, her regular work, to the side. She worked very part-time so that she could volunteer full-time. She and Kim both, and they were sort of the leaders of the Pink House Defenders, and then there were various people who came in who were a big part of it for that time. They're both of their partners. There were several men that were a part of the Pink House Defenders, which I think is really important because men need to be in the conversation about abortion access. And we shot so much with them that a lot of which ended up in the film, and a lot of which didn't, and including there's a scene that ended up not making it into the film that was very specific to the city of Jackson and the buffer zone ordinance that they tried to that passed in their favor and then was overturned. And you see in the film, and you come to understand that that the police who were patrolling the area were not really helpful to keeping peace at the clinic. And so Kim and Dorinda and the rest of the Pink House defenders literally had to escort people from their cars safely into the clinic, each and every day that they were open. And something that was really striking to me, I'm not from Mississippi, although I lived in the South for many years and live in the Midwest now. What was really striking to me is that for the first time ever at the Pink House, we saw members of the state legislature coming who were invited by antis to support them. And I've never seen, I mean, like, I guess where, you know, it was always sort of my understanding that people sort of hid behind their racism and their, you know, their misogyny. But in this case, it was, you know, front and center. And it was, yes, we're proud to represent anti-choice extremists, and we're going to be here right alongside them. And that was really striking to me. And we'll see a little bit of that in the film.
One thing that surprised me in this film, I never really thought about, you know, you have these people who come out to protest abortion access, and they've been doing that for as many years as the folks who were there to provide the access. And in the film, you point out that there's some of these people who have a relationship with each other. Did that surprise you guys? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, specifically about the Pink House?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they engage, and that's part of what they do. They engage, and they know who's not at their landscaping business that day or who's not driving the bus that day. Dorinda keeps track of everyone's schedule, and there is a lot of interaction. Whereas I think in non-engagement escorting, it's a completely different scenario. But I think that Dorinda and Kim were able to sort of get a sense of who was coming in and out, and who was a threat, and they could sort of assess the situation really well for their patients, and I think the fact that they know the antis and have gotten to know them over the years is it disarms them in a major way, because who reigns supreme at the Pink House? It's Dorinda Hancock.
Well, and I think there's this beautiful empathy in Dorinda and Kim and all of the defenders, that they're not going to sit there and scream back at people. They're going to engage them in conversations, get to know them, so that, one, they have information, so that they know where these people are coming from, what they do, how many kids they might bring to the sidewalk, but also because they're going to be out there every day, and you might as well get to know these people and
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Right. Know what they're thinking.
Know what they're thinking. Yeah, it gives you a whole lot more information, I think Dorinda says in the film, to get to know them and be able to predict a little bit more what they might be thinking, doing outside of the clinic, and then help you in turn protect the patients that you're trying to get into the clinic even more. And it's tough too. I mean, I think a lot of people don't engage because they don't want to have these interactions with these people, but Dorinda says she's known some of those people outside the clinic for 10 years, and they have a relationship because they see each other multiple times a week, and
they don't have holidays together, but they see each other all the time.
Yeah,
they're almost like coworkers.
Yeah, the weirdest sort of coworker.
Yeah. Not by choice.
Yeah, not by choice.
Not by choice. Tell me, why is it called No One Asked You?
Like your shirt.
Yeah, I think it's a abortion access front. They really are like, it's my body, my bodily autonomy. No one asked you to give your input on what I'm doing. And they have these shirts that say literally no one asked you. They've had signs and things, and there's they get at one point in the film they get tattoos on their arms that say literally no one asked you. And I think, I mean, you can speak to this too. We just felt like that encapsulated the kind of heart of the film of like, we're just talking about bodily autonomy. We're talking about being able to make choices about yourself, your own body, not making the government, anyone else making those decisions for you. So no one asked you about my choices.
And to be really unapologetic, to have an unapologetic title to the film, which is which is Liz and AAF's line. They say that because there is something about this whole idea of the importance of destigmatizing and to sort of depoliticize the issue and to really look at this and to ask people, to demand that people look at this as a healthcare issue, not a political issue, and not anyone else's business besides the person who is in need of the abortion, and to sort of do that in a way that is, as I said, completely unapologetic and on demand.
My experience watching this film, I thought that it was just going to be about the Vaginal Mystery Tour, but it became a lot more than that. And I was hoping that you could talk a little bit more about that. I do also remember noting that this was very unapologetic in its message, and it comes across very clearly. Abortion is a medical procedure. It's not more than that, and it shouldn't be treated like this grandiose thing that it's become in the culture wars. So if you guys have any thoughts related to the message of this movie, I'd love to hear more.
One thing that I'd really like to say is, so you talk about, a good portion of the film is the Vaginal Mystery Tour, and then it takes us beyond because we are then following the Dobbs decision and what's happening in all of the different states. It was really important for us. We had a few things we needed to do when creating the final edit, and I think our final edit was version 97.
Wow.
Which we were cutting for a really long time. At one point, this film was going to be a series, and so we were sort of cutting in that way. But one of the main tenets of this was we have a country full of surprised people that Roe was overturned. That'll never happen. In fact, we were making a film about the people who said, I'm not going to curse. We are making a film about, again,
Yeah.
okay. We are making a film about the people who know that shit is going to go down,
Yeah.
and that Roe is going to be overturned, and the states are going to be completely mobilized to do their work state by state to eradicate abortion. So we had to make this film for. So when the leak happened, there were so many surprised people, right? Even though the Abortion Access Front and Liz and some of the stakeholders were really sounding the alarm for a long time. But when you have something like that, you can't make people feel badly for not knowing, because you still need to activate them. And so we also needed to tell the story in such a way that the information part of all of this, the facts, that they were for people who knew everything about the issue and for people who knew nothing, and to fill in those holes and the blanks along the way. And that was for us editorially a difficult task, but was essential.
And I think too, a really big tenet of like why we're making the film, a lot of what we're trying to do with our impact campaign is busting abortion stigma and looking at it, like you said, as a healthcare issue, as something that that's what someone needs at that point in their life to determine their own economic destiny, to determine what their future is with their partner. Like, that's their own choice, and we can say the word abortion without fear, without the stigma that sometimes comes along with it, and that is unintentional a lot of times that we put on it ourselves. So yeah, it's a lot of reframing that we're trying to do both in the film and in our continued work with the film of abortion as healthcare. Abortion is something that people should be able to receive whenever they need one. so that they can make their own choices about their life.
And even in our own industry, in the film industry too, when we're out talking to people and pitching, you know, we feel a little like underdogs in kind of a cool way because turns out the film has been really well received, and it's people have been entertained and felt energized, and there's clear call to actions because that's what the film is about, and so sort of using that. And we'd love to tell you about the impact campaign that we're working on because it's a really important year. So, yeah.
And also, just in regard to like the film, like starting with the Magical Mystery Tour, I think that was like the initial intention. It's like, we'll make a film about the Magical Mystery Tour, and then like, great. But like the work wasn't done, and the story wasn't done, and it took a lot of years of continued filming, working on this story, and unfortunately, it follows through the end of Roe. But I think that you're right, Ruth. Like, we had a nation full of surprise people, and we need to see the breadth of Abortion Access Front's work to show these are the ways that you can get involved. This is, if you were surprised, let's use this film. Let's see what all the things that AAF does, the Pink House Defenders do, to be able to turn that around and say, all right, here are all the ways that you can get involved.
Because we know that it's going to take everyone, and there's a lot, and we also know that there's a lot of activism fatigue. Who's not tired of going to marches? I mean, there's a lot of marches, and marching in and of itself, what does it do? Yes, it gathers people, but there's measurable things that happen that you see AAF do, and then the true call to action towards the end of asking everyone to say what they can do, to participate, and that's why men being involved is really important. It's always been really important to us, and so that's why it's so great that the Pink House Defenders are here, because many of them are men. And many of them really needed to show their strength to the antis who were pretty scary. So we are really hoping with our impact campaign, first and foremost, we want to take Kim and Dorinda and some of the Pink House Defenders on the road to show other people who are clinic escorts around the country what engagement really can look like and how you can use it to empower yourselves and the patients at these clinics, because just stepping back and ignoring them hasn't been effective. So we are doing film festivals right now, jam-packed. We're all over the country in battleground states and in ballot initiative states, and I'm gonna let you take the rest of that.
Yeah. And in Mississippi, where abortion's illegal, like, it's really important for us to screen the film in places where abortion is in very different states, and use the film to bolster community, bring joy, and bring awareness to local issues around abortion access, because that's the hard thing now post-Roe is everything's different everywhere. Mm-hmm. So how can we localize and say, like, let's look at access in Nebraska, let's look at access in North Carolina, Mississippi, wherever we are, and see how people locally, after viewing the film, can get involved.
Love that. I guess for wrapping this up, tell me what's next. You've already talked a little bit about the impact campaign. Tell me what's next for each of you, and then if you've got anything you want to shout out before we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe a little bit more about the impact campaign too. So, we're doing a lot of festivals right now. We're fielding lots of requests from organizations and people who want to have screenings, and many of which are in ballot initiative states. So there was a screening recently that Andrea attended and hosted and did Q&A for, and a bunch of organizations got together and got several ballot initiative signatures, and that was in Omaha, Nebraska, which is it's really pressing right now to gather as many signatures right now. And then in the fall, we are going to hit college campuses wide before the election, and we're going to follow Abortion Access Front, and there's some shenanigans that are going to happen at the Democratic National Convention. Tomorrow, we're headed to Washington, D.C. to the Supreme Court for the Miffy case that's opening arguments this week. We're going to be there for that, film a little bit to update our epilogue, and hopefully we'll be able to do an award season push in the fall. We're really, there have been a lot of abortion documentaries, and they're all important and they're all amazing, and we knew that we needed to bring levity and humor and joy in order to get people engaged. So our plan is to really get people engaged. So we're going to do some really cool online events with some of our comics from the film. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I kind of summed it up for the fall. It's a lot of events in the fall leading up to the election, trying to bolster support throughout the country for various key elections, places where abortion's on the ballot, trying to expand access, trying to use the film to bolster local efforts and work with local organizations to showcase AAF's work and show how people can get involved.
Then we'll probably have an international premiere, after the election. We're really trying to stay in the United States and then go abroad. We're talking to other places because it turns out abortion access is not really great in many countries. So we're looking at that. So we're really excited about that. We really want people to follow our impact campaign. I guess can we show a QR code? Is that like a thing we could do on a?
You can show a QR code if there's like an Instagram profile or.
Yeah, we can send you our Instagram. Our website is just nooneaskedyoudoc.com. And people can sign up for our mailing list there. We can include our Instagram.
If you want, we can exchange information. I can put the QR code up.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Perfect.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.